Hello everyone and welcome to this pick a card reading video. Oh, it's 3:33. Everybody make a wish. My time of recording this 3:33. Pause. Make a wish. You don't have to actually pause the video, but just make a wish. I will too. Okay. That's a really good sign. And also, there are 3 stacks to choose from in this video, so 3:33. Anyway. In this video, for each stack, there will be 2 states listed. And of course, as the title of the video implies, if you're looking to move out of state or somewhere outside of the United States, this isn't the video for you. This is specifically in reference to US states. But yeah, there will be 2 states listed in each pile. So they have similarities to each other, but I'll explain why I put both states for each pile once you pick it. So here is stack 1A, stack 2B, stack 3C. You can pause if you'd like and if you need some more time to figure out which stack you're most drawn to. If you are not drawn to any of the stacks, that's completely fine. This just might not be the pick a card reading video for you. I have plenty of other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my channel. I do plan on making another video, but for like which country you should move to. And also if you choose the state or the pile and it has a state that you already live in, then I guess that just means maybe you're destined to still live within your state, but maybe move somewhere else within your state, As a reminder, everything I talk about and discuss in this video is for entertainment purposes only and cannot be stated as fact. Alright, let's get into it. Hello one and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. The cards pulled here are the Sun upright, Page of Cups in reverse, 8 of Cups in reverse, 3 of Wands upright, 2 of Pentacles in reverse, and the Hierophant upright. And then the Oracle cards, I will read from all the guidebooks except for this first one here. We have in the 12th house, we have number 6 in reverse, which is Arcturians. And then we have Raccoon Resourcefulness. We have all the resources you need, and we have Gracefully Aging. So I definitely get more vibes of Texas for this stack, but I had to include Florida in just because there are similarities I feel between the 2 states, as well as literally the first card is the sun, and Florida is the sunshine state. Some people call South Dakota the sunshine state too unofficially, but I'm like, no. Anyway. So the sunshine state made me think about this is somewhere that is warmer year-round. It's not going to be somewhere in the Midwest or in the East Coast, Upper East Coast. This is going to be somewhere that's more warm year-round and probably doesn't snow or doesn't snow as often. And then with Page of Cups in reverse and Ace of Cups in reverse, that was making me think that you would be near water. But since they are both in reverse, it makes me think that this is going to be somewhere that could deal with like flooding or hurricanes. So Florida and Texas definitely both deal with that. And also with those cups being in reverse, it makes me think that the state that would be associated with this deck, the people themselves seem to be more logical as opposed to creatives. Like some people go to New York City or Los Angeles if you're a creative. And in this sense, that doesn't mean you can't be a creative person, but I'm just saying like the overall environment of these places, like people aren't known for being highly creative or highly artistic. When you think of Texas, I don't think, oh, that's where all the creatives go. Do you know what I'm saying? So it seems like this is a place that's more logical and rational, and we also have the Hierophant upright, which furthers that, and also makes me think that this is a place that's more traditional, which makes sense for the fact that there's probably less creatives there. And also it makes me think that there's probably a lot of church-going people, a lot of faith-based or religious people who live in this state. And there's a lot of customs and traditions that people follow, as opposed to making a lot of new traditions. With the 3 of Wands upright, that makes me, it was interesting, because when I pulled that, I'm like, this is a state probably that has a lot of land. And Texas is the second largest state in the United States. First is Alaska, second is Texas, and or second California. No, I'm pretty sure second is Texas and third is California, yeah. So it's one of the largest states by landmass. Florida is not like that, by the way. It's more so Florida is like middle of the road in terms of how much square footage there is. But I will say for Florida, because it's along the coast and it very much sticks out like a sore thumb, you could say it literally. Oh, my cat's scratching. We'll have to see if y'all can end up hearing that. Oh, he just lost a nail. That's great. Okay, you done? There we go. Literally saw a nail. I literally saw a nail like get lost from his paw as he was doing that. I've seen cat nails all over the place. Anyway, not right now. I'm like in general, like there's always nails all over the place. But Three of Wands upright. Florida sticks out like a sore thumb because it's on the coast. And that's something too with the Three of Wands. It's like this is, if it isn't a lot of landmass, and this is a state that sticks out and that's very obvious. Like you know it's Florida. And or you know what the state is. And so you know that it's Florida. It sticks out. It has a very particular shape. And then Two of Pentacles in reverse makes me think that when I first pulled this card, it makes me think that there's cheaper, you're able to find places with cheaper living costs. So in Texas, I know that's definitely the case also because of taxes. I don't know about Florida. I think in Florida, there's less taxes there as well. And just less financial or economic regulation. But also, yeah, I know for sure in Texas it's cheaper to live there. And I think at least in certain places in Florida, like probably not in downtown Miami, but I think it's more affordable to live in Florida than in many other states. And that makes sense because we do have the gracefully aging card. So for me, when I had pulled that card, it made me think that this is a place that you could retire to. Like this is somewhere that once you move there, you'll probably be there long term. It could also be that you move your parents out there or you have family that's getting older that already lives in Florida or Texas, and so then you move out there. But it seems like you want to live somewhere where you can establish a home base. And I just see you once you move to the state, even if you continue to move around, I don't see you moving out of the state. I see you eventually retiring and maybe passing away as well in this state. But yeah, think of anywhere just in general where people go to retire. So a warmer state, Texas and Florida, especially Florida, that's really known as being a retirement state. So yeah, but also think about if you have any family members that live in Florida or Texas, or family members that will want to move there when they get older or when they get to be in ill health. And with resourcefulness from Raccoon as well, it made me think that this is a place that you will have everything that you need. You'll be able to afford living. And it also makes me think Texas, there's so many big cities. And a lot of the big cities have a lot. There's a lot of things that you can do. It just seems like you have access to a lot of things. I mean, Florida as well. Actually, I know Texas, I believe, is the it's the second or third most populous state. I know California is number 1. I know New York is number 2 or number 3. Florida's gotta be up there with one of the most populated states as well, so I think you have a lot of access to people, but I get more so that you'll get a lot of access to, like, I wanna say healthcare, but I think in the southern states, the healthcare probably isn't as good. I live in Minnesota where it's, like, one of the best healthcare states. We literally have the Mayo Clinic, in Rochester. So, but there just seems like any activity or hobby you want to engage in, you'll be able to have access to it. Any job you want to do, if you want to go back, get an education, like get a mentorship program. Florida and Texas are really good states for that, where there's a lot of, I think, also new technologies that are in both places. Um, like after this is a random example, but it relates. So after my concussion, I was thinking of getting any scans done. If you have damage, if it's not anything like internal bleeding, then it doesn't show up on your scans typically. If you have any traumatic brain injury that's not life-threatening. And so if you want to, now there are certain scans specifically located mainly in the South that you can go to. Insurance doesn't cover them, but there's certain clinics where you can, like concussion clinics, you can go to these places and they can do a scan that's probably very expensive. Last time I checked, like thousands of dollars, but they're only available in the South, right? So it makes me think of things like that. I know that there's other like exercise-based technologies that measure body mass, like fat versus muscle. A lot of those are more available in the South. So it just makes me think of things like that, like state-of-the-art technology in the South, in Texas, and in Florida. There's a lot of new stuff that's going on and a lot of inventions. And also just a lot of, again, access to different activities. Since you'll be closer to the water, you'll have easy access to the beach as well. You'll just have everything you need. Even if you live somewhere that's a smaller town, you'll easily be able to go to one of the bigger cities. In terms of where specifically in Texas or in Florida, I do get the vibe that it would be more of a suburb, especially with gracefully aging, like somewhere that's very much more family friendly. Nothing rural, nothing downtown or anything, but a suburb of a bigger city I see you being, or even in between 2 or 3 big cities. Yeah, but I see that for you, and I see you being able to easily drive anywhere or even take public transportation anywhere. Uh, yeah. And then what was I gonna say? Oh, 12th house. I had something for this earlier. I think 12th house for me, after I pulled the cards, I was relating to death because we do have gracefully aging here, and 12th house is the final house, the final stage in the zodiac wheel. So death is associated with the 12th house. I know it's also associated with the 8th house, but 12th house is about completion. So this just further indicates that this could be somewhere that you end up retiring here and also just like living your full life and eventually passing away here. For this is random, but you could also live somewhere where there's a higher crime rate. Maybe it's more dangerous to live. I don't really get that vibe though, well, because you'll be in the suburb, but like the bigger city area, I think will be considered more like high crime. Especially for some reason, I want to say it was drug trafficking. 12th house. 12th house and 8th house do have similarities. 12th house is the house of addiction, so be careful about any, I mean, you do have access to the resources, right? So be careful that you don't obtain any addictions because that would not be fun. I see you being fairly happy here, but I see you being more like neutral happy. I see you wanting, a lot of you have family, like your own family of your own, like children or anything, or you maybe want even pets, or you want to build a family eventually. And in this scenario, oh, I just lost it. What was I gonna say? If you have family or if you're planning on building a family, I think that's the main reason you'd wanna move. You wanna be somewhere that's more family friendly, hence why you would be more in the suburb area as well. And the Hierophant too, it reminds me of people building families and instilling values upon their children. And so I see this being a place that you're happier to live here. Well, we do have the sun up, right? But anyway, I was gonna say, I think you'll be happier to live in Texas or Florida because of what it does for your children. Um, if they have access to good schooling. To be honest, I think Florida and Texas aren't very good schooling though. It's very interesting. Probably just because you would want to do activities with them, like go to parks. I see you having fun and going on adventures, like traveling with your family, as well as just you yourself. Like I see you doing that. Even if it's out of state, you're able to do that more so year round around Florida or around uh what was I gonna say? Around Florida or around Texas. As opposed to like here in Minnesota, I can't just travel all the time. I travel the least amount possible when it starts snowing and it's icy and everything. Like, no, I'm not gonna. And the wildlife, the deer at night, like people are always hitting deer on in the highway. But and that reminds me, 12th house energy too. You might, especially if you live closer to the coast, if you decide to live somewhere like Florida or Texas, being impacted by hurricanes, I see that maybe you'll have to rebuild parts of your home or you'll have to move. But with raccoon resourcefulness, this is saying that you have all the resources you need, so I wouldn't worry too much about the specifics within that, if that makes sense. I wouldn't worry about the having to rebuild, especially if it is cheaper cost and especially if you have good insurance. But I do see you maybe having to rebuild or just have to escape, like leave your home, return back, and there might be damage, might not be. But that's also what I was thinking about with 12 houses, that there might be damage to your home, but I see that you'll be able to efficiently and more quickly rebuild. I think a lot of you are probably good savers as well, so I don't see it being too much of an issue, and I see you having hopefully good insurance, not scammy insurance, even though some would argue that insurance is a scam, but and that's also indicated by the Two of Pentacles in reverse too, that I think it's a possibility for damage to be had. But all in all, if you stay, like, more in the suburb area, even if you're near where it's more kind of a dangerous area of the United States, I sense that you'll be safe overall. And, just, like, in any state of emergency, if you need to leave your home and evacuate, then please do that. And I do honestly see you having with the children I was talking about, like, family that you build, for some of you, I could see you having a farm or just a lot of animals. So for some of you that resonates, that relates to 12th house as well, because 12th house is the house of, like, 6th house is small animals, but large animals is ruled by the 12th house. So you could have a lot of horses or large animals. I see that some of you would want to have a lot of land. Oh, and Three of Wands. Yep. A lot of you could have a lot of land for cheaper, as opposed to if you live somewhere like California, land would be a lot more expensive, generally speaking, right? So I see you being somewhere where you have a lot of land and a lot of animals, whether you have just the animals or you also have kids. I think that's why it would be helpful for your kids as well if you live in a place like Texas or Florida, because you would maybe have horses or like farm animals. And I think any children you might have would really love that. And I see you having like an area for gardening, big crops and small crops, like any of that. Even if it's more so homesteading vibes, for some of you that makes sense, homesteading. Uh, and yeah, I think I'll go into the guidebooks now. So let's go to number 6. We haven't talked about you yet, number 6. And throughout all of these oracle cards, I'll just read what it says in there. It might relate to you or your living situation, or it might relate to the state you decide to live in. But we will just see. I'll just read these either way. So we have 6 Arcturians. The Arcturians are from the Bootes constellation, 36.7 light years away. They are a 5th and higher dimensional civilization and are the most advanced ETs of our Milky Way galaxy. Arcturians are non-polarized and anchor in conscious awareness of radiant love and healing compassion. Arcturians find third-dimensional space in a time of harsh space. Wait, what? Arcturians find third-dimensional space and time, a harsh space to experience. There we go. However, they have the capacity to exchange lower third-dimensional frequencies by alchemically transmuting them into higher frequencies for a period of time. Arcturians operate within the advanced violet bandwidth of frequencies, which assists them to remain peaceful and connected to all. Without this loving frequency, it is not possible to enter fifth dimensional portals. I think, if I remember correctly, a lot of people think there are, is it 10 or 12 dimensions of like spirituality? Anyway, and the 12th dimension is like only occupied by God or universe. Anywho, They are a gentle, private, and quiet race overall, and are amazing travelers of the universe, with the finest starships and state-of-the-art crystal-driven technology. They do not use primitive computer-generated technology. They operate and navigate their ships purely through auras and consciousness energy. Before I forget, the cups energy, and just, I don't know, everything I see here, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, neighbors or people within your direct community you don't get along with, you might have opposing viewpoints to them. Um, but with the resourcefulness, you're still able to find somewhere within your community or nearby communities people who you get along with. So even if it might not be your neighbors, but hopefully I see a lot of you. I know I said farms and stuff. I still see this being more of a suburban area, not rural, but you could be like on the outskirts of a suburb as well. But anyway, any neighbors you have you might not get along with, I'm seeing, but I see it not being something that's so bad that you would need to move because of that. Okay, and I still see you being able to find people. If you look hard enough, you'll be able to find people you get along with. Arcturians vary in size, some tall, others very small. Their skin colors vary from a range of blue tones to green. They have profound telekinesis and no sicknesses at all. Arcturians have extensive wisdom and cosmic knowledge. The Arcturians were historically responsible for assisting the Pleiadians into ascended awareness during their collective consciousness shifts. The crop circle's elaborate sacred geometry designs are usually the work of Arcturian frequency technology. Arcturians choose to terminate and crop circles, fields, fields for crops and land. Um, okay, Arcturians choose to terminate their physical life through agreed contracts for the highest development of their advanced species well-being at around the age of 400 Earth years. The card meaning. So the card meanings here, we'll have to go with what's in reverse. So cagey, uptight, be wordy, flippant, irresponsible, irrational, superstitious. Yeah, I think this ties in with the religiosity and the traditional values of Florida and Texas, where I think if you express values or beliefs that are different from the norm, people would get upset with you. Like if you're somebody who's less religious or less strictly religious, specifically, I will say, it seems like people will be very upset by that, and people I mean, you hear about how people say in Texas, like, people it's legal to own guns there and, like, certain types of guns and, like, protecting property. I just feel like there's very much that vibe of people being like, "If you mess with me, like, I live in Texas, I own guns," so be careful about that. I don't see, like, anything violent actually happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's, like, threats like that. Even if they're not directed to you, like, I wouldn't be surprised if you just hear stuff like that and see, like, the signage all over the place of people like, "Don't mess with me or my property." And with irrational superstitious, I'm not surprised by that. People are very sometimes no offense to some of the religious people out there, but some people who are religious to the point of it just being so ridiculous and not only being in your face about it, but I swear for me, the most superstitious people I have ever met have been Christians. And I come from North Dakota, by the way, which is one of the most religious and conservative states in the United States. Um, yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. And flippant, I think people could easily like turn on you and like get angry at you. So just be careful about that. But now let's go to raccoon. Raccoon resourcefulness. You have all the resources you need. Everything you need is right in front of you if you only look. There's no need to be fussing about this and that, creating drama and turmoil, worrying about whether you'll have enough the next hour, the next day, or the next week. Whatever you need will be there. You might have to forage a little, but it will. Trust that. Wait, forage a little. Oh, if you have enough, but it will, trust that. There's nothing to fret or worry about, not really. Use your brain and your intuition in partnership to not only help you solve the problem, but actually solve the problem. At first, it may not be obvious where to look. That's why you have to poke around a bit until you turn up what you need for this or any other situation. Sometimes when you follow your hunch and look under the couch for your lost wallet, you find the wallet. And don't get tweaked if all the steps you take don't lead to an immediate solution. Don't proceed blindly or out of anxiety or fear. It's impossible to hear your intuition or your brain when you're jumping around randomly. So relax. Trust that what you need will turn up. And that's why I think being in more like close-knit environments outside of a big city will be better for you, because I think some of you would get too overstimulated by all the noise and like actual noise, and also just like uh people who you don't agree with. It'll be easier to drown that out. Additional associations: stealth, ingenuity, cleverness, dexterity. And then the final card here is graceful aging. Okay, graceful aging. You received this card because heaven can see your inner and outer beauty and wants you to appreciate your divine magnificence too. This means that you allow yourself to see the beauty that growing older represents. The more you hold positive thoughts and feelings about the aging process, the more you glow with inner peace and sage wisdom. The maturity signifies that you will be seen as an elder, and others will look to you for answers. This is an honor, which is one reason why this card is guiding you to age gracefully, meaning that you embrace your hard-won years of learning. Although you may feel much younger than your chronological years, graceful aging means that you are comfortable with yourself in every way. And that means being comfortable with yourself, even if, like, say for example, if you're queer, be still being comfortable with yourself, even if you live in a place that's more conservative, dominant, or anti-LGBTQ plus. Don't be afraid too much. Don't go out of your way to like shove it down people's faces, because again, like those Texas and Florida are less likely to not fight back, so be careful about that. But I see that you can still be able to live yourself and find community, the resources, the raccoon card. Additional meaning: caring for aging parents or other elders, learning from an elder, a change in beauty care routines, preparing for retirement. I also see once you move, like even if you're not a traditional person, I see you building your own traditions as well, even if they don't align with what other people do around you, even if they're not rooted in a religion. I see you building your own traditions as you maybe build a family, or as you grow to have more friends where you live or move to. And like even if it's something like Valentine's Day, right? I've never celebrated, but let's say I move somewhere, and even if I get a relationship in this new state I'm in, I can still have a Valentine's Day, right? Which is the day before, or is it the same day as Valentine's Day? Anyway, something like that with friends, whether they're single or not. Just like having a ladies' day, or anything like that, a queer day for the queerdos like me. That's just an example. I see you being able to do that, form your own traditions in spite of, or maybe not in spite of, but alongside other people having their traditions that aren't like yours. But then, yeah, I just see you with any children you may have wanting to build traditions with them as well, but that are rooted in positivity and that don't like they're just not negative in nature like some traditions can be, and that they're informative as well. Like you think about National Day of Mourning, is it the day of or the day after Thanksgiving? I sorry, I can't think right now, but I think it's the same day as Thanksgiving. Anyway, people like me, I celebrate National Day of Mourning, not Thanksgiving, just because of the history behind that and the context. So for you, I think you would do something similar where you are rooted in your own traditions based off of experiences you've had and historical aspects. And I think there's a lot of history in Texas, on Florida, I imagine as well. Isn't that where Christopher Columbus actually first landed? Was in Florida? Like in terms of the US states? Could be wrong about that. Anyway, uh that's just something to keep in mind. But I see you overall being happy, and the more you stay true to you and not to outside influences. But I see you making it work for you. All right, I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, Winnie, for watching and listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can like the video down below. You can comment down below if you resonate with this stack, and you can update your comment in the future if you have any updates for us all, like if you move to any of these places, or even if you already live there in any of these places. And you can I already said like the video, right? Oh yeah, you can subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. You can check out the other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my channel. And you can check out my ASMR channel, Brittney's ASMR. That will be linked in the video description down below. Thank you so much again, Winnie, and take care. Hello, Tubi, and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. The cards pulled here are Knight of Cups in reverse, Six of Pentacles upright, Strength card upright, the Hanged Man in reverse, Judgment upright, and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. And then for the Oracle cards, the last three I will read from the guidebook as well, but we have here 6th house, or in the 6th house. We have 26, Alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone, and it says Infinity, Destiny, Magic. We have Salmon, Determination. You know where you are going and you will get there. And we have Keep the Faith. So I'm especially glad that Keep the Faith was chosen because I was already getting the sense that this place would be a conservative place, and also it appears to be that it is a very hyper religious place, especially, I was getting Christianity vibes, so it makes sense that Tennessee is on here because that's one of the most Christian religious states in the United States. And then for Utah, the most obvious religion is Mormonism, which some Mormons or some Latter-day Saints or followers of Jesus Christ or Latter-day Saints. I'm just gonna keep saying Mormons. I know that apparently some people in the Mormon church say that that's a slur now. I can't say you're invalid for thinking that if that's you, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep saying Mormon. So we know that Mormonism is, though, a subsect of Christianity, and I was gonna say some people, though, in the Mormon church actually don't believe that it's considered part of Christianity because it's far enough removed. So I guess take with that what you will. But it's still a very hyper-religious state, and literally it's known to be the most Mormon state, right? And also one of the most just Christian states is Tennessee. So somewhere that's very from all these cards, I was getting somewhere that's very religious. And also with the 6 of Pentacles, it makes me think that it's very community driven, but I think it's more community driven in its religion, if that makes sense. Uh, a lot of times what can bring people together is religion, and that can be where you meet most of your friends. That can be, you can. Oh my goodness, the building is making so much noise. Thankfully, I have echo reduction on, so I don't think y'all can hear that. But anyway, I feel like this is somewhere that when with I don't remember what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, people come together a lot of times as it relates to their religion. So a lot of times I grew up in North Dakota, and a lot of times people connect most over religion. So if people go to the same church as their coworkers or their friends, or if people hang out with other people from the same church, and that's where they spend most of their free time, is either at the church or with people who go to the same church. And some people, in North Dakota at least, because North Dakota is also one of the most conservative states. I don't know about religious states. I mean, it could be, it would make sense, but it's still a very hyper religious state in my eyes from what I've seen. Anyway, you would also see people get jobs because they knew somebody from the same church, or they're really good friends with somebody from the same church that they went to. So that's how they were able to get a job. And a lot of people's values in North Dakota are based around their religious views. So I just see that being a very key factor for wherever you do move, but specifically as it relates to Utah and Tennessee. And I know that this is I was gonna say this, but maybe I'll wait. Okay, I'll try to remember because this is a very important part. But okay, I'll move on to what else I was going to say. Which is, if I can remember. Also, can y'all hear my cat purring? He's like close to the mic and he's just like purring. One of his paws on the 26 Alchemy Philosopher's Stone card, and he's like doing biscuits on it. It's so cute. Good boy. With the Judgment card, I do want to say that a lot of times with places that are hyper religious, if you are somebody who is not religious, or if you're somebody who doesn't conform to the religious standards set forth by a certain church or a religious community, then oftentimes you will be judged. And so I get that from here as well. If you are somebody who is outside of the church, you easily get judged. With the judgment, it just also ties in with the conservative values to me. So people are more traditional in this place. People are more likely to bond together and gossip over people who are different from them. There's a lot of conformity that's placed here. A lot of with the Ace of Pentacles in our verse, that was making me think of people just living kind of monotonous daily routines. Like people don't step out of the box is actually what I was hearing. So in this place, you're more likely to see everybody doing similar things, people looking the same as well. Like Alyssa Grenfell, if you know who that is. Grenfell? Why do I feel like I'm saying it? Alyssa Grenfell. Grenfell. Oh, my cat is scratching at the mic. Don't do that, Axel. Uh, Axel, don't. She is an ex-Mormon, and she talks about how, um, a lot of Mormons look the same and are desired to look a certain way, so there's a lot of plastic surgery that people get. In Utah, she, went to BYU in Utah, very Mormon, like, the most Mormon college, and, she talked about also just living there, everybody looks the same and everybody desires to look blonde, to look blue hair, to have and the woman get plastic surgery to get a bigger chest and to get Botox, lip fillers, all that. And it's really weird how stuff like that is still considered part of the norm. So I think you'll notice that from moving to either of these places too, where people talk about conservative values and being a certain way, but then there's also a on the flip side of the coin, people doing things that you wouldn't think would people would tie in with their religion, but for somehow, like, getting plastic surgery is just normalized, and but in a way where it's, like, pushed out also. So, there's also, I think, a lot of gender roles that I see happening. So, again, not stepping outside the box, just seeing a lot of people look the same and taking similar actions, doing certain gender roles. You'll probably find a lot more stay-at-home moms here, in Utah or in Tennessee, as opposed to if you were to live in a different state, like maybe Washington or Oregon, right, where it still happens, obviously, but I think it's more promoted or more highlighted in places like Utah and Tennessee as opposed to places like Washington and Oregon. Something I did wanna say is for some reason, when I was pulling from this stack, I was getting the vibe of everyday working class people, which is especially true for Tennessee, but for Utah, I think it just relates to the fact that people in Utah, it seems like, are always working apparently. Apparently, also, the lowest unemployment rate is in Utah. I don't know how long that's been the case, but when I actually checked, that popped up. I'm like, that makes sense for why I'm getting Utah vibes. But also, for some reason, I was getting mountain vibes from this. I just kept visualizing the mountains. So that's also what confirmed for me Utah and Tennessee because they have very mountainous areas. And what is it? The Smoky Mountains? Is that what goes through like Tennessee to North Carolina border? Smoky Mountains, yeah. But then there's also mountains that go through Utah. Utah, there's quite a bit of tourism there for skiing, I believe, right? But I know that there are a lot of mountainy regions in Utah and in Tennessee. So since I kept seeing that, I'm like, yes. Also, from this stack, it indicates to me that I'm being pulled in so many directions. The hangman, okay, I'll just go through the cards as well, though, because the hangman in reverse further indicates to me that people don't step out of the box and that people engage in groupthink here and people do what the community decides to do. So if the community as a whole thinks one way, then it's more likely to change another person in the community's line of thinking. And I think anybody who oh, that's not a good visual. Anybody who steps out of line or who doesn't agree with the community they're in, it's like the pitchforks. It's like people will come to you and be like, you need to change your mind, or people will like make threats. It's like that kind of vibe. Hopefully that doesn't happen for you. That's just what I'm seeing. But yeah, the hangman reverse, you kind of have to also ooh, that's not good. I was getting visuals and the messaging of like any personality you have can't really shine through everybody in the community is kind of just one synonymous personality, and that doesn't mean by the way, this doesn't mean it has to be the case for you, I'm just telling you the vibe of how this is and how it would be for maybe other people who also decide to move here or people who already live in these areas. I'm just telling you, how it is already, so you can still be your own person, but this is just the vibe of the community and the area, the state. Yeah, there's a sense that personality is all grouped into the community and like everything that one person does has to be reflective of that community and people can't do things for themselves really, which I think does make sense for Utah and Tennessee. And then with the Knight of Cups in reverse, it makes me think that this is more these states. This is why I also thought of Utah and Tennessee. They are more so states of trying to base their beliefs on logic, which is really weird if you think about it, because religion actually isn't very logical and like believing in something that we can't see, right? I'm not saying I don't believe in a higher power. I'm just saying, like in terms of things being logical, a lot of people do seem to be more with Knight of Cups in reverse logical and also less open-minded, less likely to try new things. All that has been indicated by the cards, but it's really interesting how we have Strength card here. To me, I keep wanting to say, like, rebuild or, like, building, which makes sense especially for Utah because Utah, before it was an established state in the United States, a lot of Mormons came to Utah and then started establishing their own towns, and so that's why it makes sense that it's still such a Mormon state because of Mormons fleeing to Utah. There's a lot of history behind that if you wanna look it up, but anyway, so a lot of people built their own communities, a lot of Mormons specifically built their own community in Utah, started fresh, started new, and with the Strength card also signals stubbornness, where people are unwilling to back down from their beliefs. Again, that rigidity, that roughness, that inability to think. Maybe there's a lack of empathy here too that I'm seeing. A lack of empathy for other people, more so focused on yourself, but also people say they're focused on the community, but I just think a lot of people in this area are more focused on like not being outed for being a bad person or whatever. Like I said before, there's a lot of messaging of people doing something and then seeming like it's contradictory to what their beliefs are, especially their religious beliefs. Any morality that people have. It's like you say this thing, but then you're also doing this at the same time. And it's not like it's necessarily opposite, but it's similarly opposite. Like it's similar to what the opposite of this thing you believe is. And yeah, I just see a lot of that. And Tennessee, I'm trying to think about strength. I think I don't know how much I want to get into that. I am thinking about the American Civil War. I really don't know much about history, but I'm thinking about the roots people had to plant to rebuild and to build in Tennessee as it relates to like the American Civil War. Wait, you know what? Let's do a short little history lesson. Let's look up when was the Civil War? The Civil War in America. I don't want the movie. Okay, let's go Civil War history. 1861 to 1865, that makes sense, yep. And it was fought primarily over the issue of slavery, yeah. And it feels like it's really weird because with strength, it's like there were people that um stayed and tried to rebuild their lives after the Civil War ended, I believe. And again, I'm not a historian, I'm not a teacher, but it seems also that with the strength alongside that stubbornness is that even though after the Civil War there were different laws that were eradicated, new laws that were being made, and human rights that were supposed to be respected, it feels like there's still that stubbornness that lingers specifically in that area, like Tennessee, where people still have maybe racist tendencies, right? And people are unwilling to change because of the historical significance what their family believed like in that area. It's just a very Yeah, yeah. So it's like there's strength in the people who basically black people who were trying to rebuild, but then there's also that stubbornness and that strength of people who still have these racist tendencies. I know that may sound very strange the way it comes across, but that's just what I kept seeing. So it seems like key phrase here or key sentiment. There's a lot of strength in terms of people trying to build and rebuild, but there's also a lot of stubbornness and being stuck in old ways and also being unable to also there's like a difference within communities of one side being more open-minded and another side wanting to be stuck in the past. It seems like there's a lot of, like, generational trauma within these states as well, which is why I was picking up on Tennessee and Utah, I guess. Uh, yeah, so sorry if that was weird messaging, but I kept seeing, like yeah, like, war, and I was, like, hearing, like, American Civil War. I'm like, I'm not specialist in this, but it's really weird, though, because usually people who, listen to these kinds of stacks, I don't assume that you are like this, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you grew up specifically in the South. I know Utah is in the West, but it acts like it's in the South almost. But anywhere in the South or the West, if you just grew up in somewhere similar, a similar environment, specifically in America, like Alabama, Mississippi, I don't know, Missouri, it seems like you just grew up in similar circumstances, Texas. And now a lot of you too, I will say this stack, you're most likely to have already, lived here before, or maybe you, like, yeah, grew up here, you still live in one of these places, so this is just indicative of that, or again, just something similar to what you grew up in, or have long lived in. And a lot of you, I think, maybe would try to get away from this, but I think because of a lot of you, you're still close enough to family, so it's hard to move. Also, okay, I do wanna bring this up. We have in the 6th house, and for me, I was relating that to the hardworking people, like, building and rebuilding that I was getting a sense of, but also in the 6th house, it even says your work, and I kept looking at that, your work, and also what is good for us. I think that a lot of you could move to one of these places because of work. That's very likely the cost. So for some of you, it's because of family ties, or maybe it's just cheaper to live in one of these states. Maybe you're just very drawn to the mountains. But for a lot of you, I think you will be drawn to, or will have to move to one of these areas because of your career or your job specifically. It could be because of your job relocating, or it could be because you just get work elsewhere and so you move for that job. It could be either of those. That is the sense I'm getting. And then in terms of the type of community, I did talk about mountainy areas, Utah, Tennessee, but specifically, I see you living in a very small town, like at very most 25,000 people. And that doesn't mean you have to work in that town. You could work elsewhere. It would make sense if you're like relocating because of your job. But so for some of you, maybe it makes more sense that you are in a suburb. But if you are, I get the sense that it's like very, 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 very far out, like one of the edge suburbs of one of these bigger areas of your state, that being Utah or Tennessee. It just seems like you're more likely to live in a very, very small, maybe even more of a touristy town as well. And that's part of what the strength in the community could be for this is that there's a lot of tourism. So I don't know about the small towns outside of the big towns that maybe aren't even technically suburbs, but that people go and visit within these places. But it feels like, yeah, a small town in the mountains or near the mountains. And I'm just visualizing very touristy. Like, growing up, I've been to Deadwood, South Dakota before. That's a very touristy town. Like, it's almost those vibes. Or there's a lot of small towns in Minnesota that are like lake towns and they're very touristy. Um, there's a town in the very, like, smack dab center of Minnesota called Sauk Center, and if you ever go there, you know it's a lake town, like, so many people go there. They have small events, but really are they really that small? Because people from all over come to these, especially from other small towns, so I wouldn't be surprised if you're in a small town that's very touristy where a lot of people go to, from out of state and also just out of town, like, they go to this small town because there's I wanna say cultural events going on, but more so religious events probably, and more so, yeah, just community-based events that go on. So your work could be within that small area or it could be somewhere else, but I see you living in this kind of environment. In terms of you getting along with people here, I get the sense that you will get along with people neutrally. I think you will kind of keep to yourself, but at the same time, you'll engage within the community when it relates to you, especially if it relates to family events, family friendly events. I still see you participating, but maybe not being as involved as some other people. But see, I see you being neutral and then enjoying your time and when you are out and about and meeting people, hanging out with people in the community. And then if people are kind of getting out of line or doing something you don't agree with, then I see you easily being able to just like pull yourself back and like keep calm. I see a lot of you who want to raise families or who already have families that where you move to will actually be very family friendly and there will be a lot of children activities that they can do and a lot of maybe after school programs that they can end up doing. So I see it being very good for children and family, the places that you live. And again, very based on community. And so I think a lot of that is also families specifically coming together and like children being able to grow up with one another and be like lifelong friends or friends throughout school years. Yeah, so I will read in the guidebook now, and we'll just see if there's any additional associations from these cards. It might relate to you or either Utah or Tennessee that you decide if you decide to move there. So I'll just read what it says in here. Yeah, it could relate to you or the place. Alchemy, the philosopher's stone or the great work, Latin magnus opus, was a term for the ancient esoteric alchemists, scientists, prima materia work. Magna opus literally means masterpiece, and prima or prima materia means formless substance from the universe. Ancient alchemy was shrouded in coded doublespeak, which involved both physiological chemistry of turning base metals into gold, known as the elixir of life and immortality, possibly monatomic gold, which holds interdimensional qualities. Simultaneously, the alchemists, scientists, mystics practiced the esoteric shifting of universal ether essences and energy hidden to non-seers. This philosopher's stone, alchemy symbol of squaring the circle, is based mathematically, or sorry, is both mathematical and metaphorical. Mathematically, squaring the circle only with straight lines and circles is impossible. Metaphorically, squaring the circle is about the merging of spirit and matter. The large circle symbolizes the infinite macro universe. Sorry, I was trying to read that other part again. Squaring the circle only with straight lines and circles is impossible. Okay, anyway. The large circle symbolizes the infinite macro universe. The triangle balancing within the circle symbolizes the ether/spirit trinity of past, present, future, life, death, rebirth, body, mind, soul. The material square inside the triangle symbolizes the four elements, four directions, and four seasons. The small circle inside the square symbolizes the micro infinite void that links you back into the macro infinite universe. In reverse, it says stuck, blocked, stagnation, in a rut. Ah, there we go. Yeah, because the card is in reverse. So, yeah, see, that makes sense with what I've been saying, where it feels like the people are kind of stuck in the past. So, people are afraid to have forward thinking or progressive thinking. And so, because of that, just be careful about the conversations you have with people. I think people are so shrouded in their own beliefs and like it keeps them so safe they feel so that if anything actually questions that, people feel like it's an attack. So be very careful about that. I wouldn't try to have open discussions with most of the people in your community. There's probably some people you'd be able to find, but it feels like a lot of people not so much. Oh, sixth house too. It makes me think that, I see you being more in a rural town or just small town. I wouldn't be surprised if I think I may have mentioned this for stack one as well, but I filmed that part yesterday for them, like their stack. But for you, I feel like you could have a farm, you could do homesteading, or maybe this is just a place that has I see like farmers markets happening a lot. So go to your local farmers market, support local produce, and I see you being able to live more whole, like WHOLE. So like having more access to natural foods. Maybe you don't have access to those foods now, or maybe just being in a smaller, tight-knit community, you get a lot more access to local ingredients and local produce is what I keep seeing. Okay, let's go to salmon. Are you back, Axel? Are you gonna be nice? Or are you gonna be naughty? He's just sitting here. Now he's licking himself. Okay, salmon, determination. You know where you are going and you will get there. Sometimes it seems easier to just give up in the face of adversity, especially when the struggles you face feel overwhelming and insurmountable. Yet these trials and tribulations are all part of your spiritual path and are necessary to make you stronger and more capable of dealing with life's unpredictability. The ordeal you're faced with now is not necessarily a light one. To succeed, it will take a clear intention, a commitment to purpose, and a willingness to stay within until you've reached a calmer part of the river. Even if you're not sure of your purpose or why you're faced with these challenges, follow your path in absolute faith. The faith is being brought up again, and the reasons will reveal themselves within the process of your journey. Sometimes your actual goal isn't apparent, even when the direction you must go is. You must trust that your direction is being inspired by the deepest sense of your innate knowing. Align your intention with Spirit's intent and let nothing stop you from moving ahead. Additional associations: purpose, sacrifice, regeneration, and endurance. So that's actually really helpful, this card for you all, and what it's saying in the guidebook, because for some of you, maybe that's why you would move to a place like Utah or Tennessee. I think a lot of you maybe want to get away from the hustle and bustle. Like, I'm getting a sense a lot of you don't appreciate hustle culture. You want to be able to have a better work-life balance, and you want to be able to, what was I gonna say? Like, I think I just won't be surprised if a lot of you get overstimulated by all the lights, camera action, all that. And so I think even if you don't, this is important messaging. Even if you don't live in a place where it's like a big city, some of you maybe just have so much going on, like with family, um, or there's just a lot of ties that you have with people, and so people always want to hang out, or people always want to do something with you. I feel like a lot of you too, maybe it seems like you're on this other side of life now where who you were before, you don't really know. You don't know that person. Like, who is she? Who is he? Who are they? It's like, I thought a lot of you have gone through such a transformation that where you live physically now just doesn't make sense anymore. It feels like you need to move away. It's like the final phase of healing, or the final phase of your self-realization will be for you to move out from where you grew up, or just where you live currently, or if anything bad has happened where you live, just getting out of that situation will allow you to heal better or self-realize better, to know yourself, your personality better, what you like. For some of you, though, I think this card just furthers the fact that you'll probably move for work in some way. With talks about purpose. For some of you, it could be a job that you've never done before that you move for, but I just get a sense that for some of you, this further indicates that you'll move for work. And there's something else I was gonna say. Some of you too, I think you just hear about people being called to the mountains. I wonder if some of you also just like snowboarding, skiing, and stuff. I don't know, or just, I don't know, doing anything in the mountains, hiking. Sometimes people just have a call, a draw to the mountains. It's really weird because when I was younger, I always thought I would live alongside the beach. And now that I'm older, I still think I'll end up doing that. But a main reason why is because being like higher up in elevation in the mountains isn't like meant for me because of my health issues. But I still like, now that I've gotten older, for me personally, I can relate to this because I am so drawn to the mountains. I've watched so many mountaineering documentaries, people climbing Mount Everest or K2, or like even people going to the Patagonia mountainscape. Where's Patagonia again? Is that in Chile or Argentina? I think it's in Chile, if I remember correctly. But I've just seen a lot of like in the snow, mountain climbing without any harnesses, like on dry mountains, like desert mountain type terrain. Sorry, I say all this just to say that I'm very drawn to that. I'm very drawn to seeing that. And some of you maybe just yourself also feel very drawn to the mountains, even if you don't really have a reason, you just feel called to. So with this purpose and the salmon, and also, oh my gosh, also the salmon swims upstream, doesn't it? Isn't that like the only fish that does so? So I feel like this move could symbolize such a major shift for you, whether that is starting a family, whether it is starting a different job, or yeah, just moving somewhere completely different. Although I think many of you have probably grown up in similar circumstances. It could just be that you've never also grown up in this kind of environment, or you're kind of scared to go back to a similar environment from that in which you grew up in. But Spirit wants to tell you that you need to make the most of the situation, to not worry about if you are like a fish out of water, like the salmon here. If you do swim upstream and everybody else swims downstream, you'll be able to make it work for you living in a place like this, or like in specifically Utah or Tennessee. You'll be able to make it work. Even if you are a bit different, it'll be okay. You'll still be able to find your close-knit community within the larger whole, within the larger community of people that resonate with you. But let's go to the other guidebook now. Keep the faith. Some of the changes you've experienced have been challenging, and this card urges you to keep your faith in divine intervention and positive outcomes. After all, lapsing into pessimism won't help the situation. Faith, oh, and also angel number 55 for this. 55 is all about changes. I'm telling you, major shifts happening for you. Faith can come in many forms, such as reconnecting with God through prayer or reviewing all the things when everything worked out for the best. Faith is an inner knowing that your experiences are purposeful, all about the purpose again, and that you'll have a happy ending, which is true. Additional meanings: spiritual or religious study, a spiritual or religious community, yep. Prayer vigil, and optimism, hope, and a positive outlook. I think the optimism, hope, and positive outlook also resonates with you, but I just think, yeah, this place, that's why Utah and Tennessee are mentioned for this being very religious community. Also, all alleged for entertainment purposes only, my own opinion only. It's not stated as fact. Hopefully y'all don't actually join Mormonism, because I really feel like it is a cult. I think a lot of religions are a cult, but what I can say for moving to Utah, like, be careful about the Mormons and converting, because it actually doesn't feel very, very positive. Mormonism, I personally believe, is a cult. I will leave it at that, though. Thank you so much, 2B, for watching and listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can like the video down below. You can comment down below if you resonate with this stack at all, and you can update your comment in the future if you have any updates for us all to read, such as if you moved to one of these places, or if you're even from one of these places, or if you currently live in one of these places, or even if you're just like drawn to the mountain areas in the United States. You can subscribe to my channel, it helps me out a lot. You can check out the other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my channel, and you can check out my ASMR channel, Brains ASMR, that will be linked in the video description down below. Thank you so much again, 2B, and take care. Hello 3C, and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. So for your cards, we have 2 of Swords upright. Oh wait, I forgot to look that one up. I'm pretty sure that's the 7 of Pentacles. You know what, let's just look real quick, everybody. Yep, okay, yep. 7 of Pentacles upright. I forgot. By the way, I'm doing this the day after I pulled the cards, so yeah, I forgot about them. So, okay, let me start over. 2 of Swords upright. 7 of Pentacles upright. We have Knight of Swords in reverse. We have the 7 of Swords in reverse. We have King of Swords in reverse. And we have the 9 of Cups upright. And then we have in the 7th house. And for the other 3 cards, I will read from the guidebook later on. But it says 17 reptilians, predator, survival, tyrannical, porcupine, innocence, free yourself of guilt and shame, and a new career. So I will say, this does seem like a place you would live. Oh, and also, yeah, New York/Massachusetts. So it seems like you could easily move to New York or Massachusetts as it relates to your career. There's a lot, especially in the tech industry, I believe, that's going on in Boston area. But yeah, Massachusetts, it seems like there's a lot of tech. Obviously in New York City as well, but there's like everything. You can literally find anything in New York City. It's the most populous city in the United States by a lot. Millions and millions of people. And with 7th house being there too, that could indicate if you're starting a business or if you're part of like a startup. I know that's more so like San Francisco vibes. like tech startups, but if there's a startup you could join, New York City would be good for that. Any sort of business you want to join, you could go there for any type of business, not just tech business. Okay, so where do I want to start? I do want to start with all this swords energy here, okay? So it appears to me through these cards, especially because the swords are all in reverse. Oh, wait, there's four swords cards. There's one that's upright, but to me, it indicates that you'll move somewhere where there's going to be a lot of, I don't want to say fighting, but there's going to be a lot of people not getting along. And that makes sense to me. Even with the Two of Swords, I don't really get that, but because of the imagery, it was making me think of, people literally yelling at each other. I am so sorry if you can hear the building making noise. During one of the, or during stack 2, the building was making a lot of noises too. Hopefully you probably can't even hear. Whenever I say that, it's like I listen back, it's like, oh yeah, because the echo reduction is on, like the background noise a lot of times doesn't really pull through. Anywho, it also right now I'm feeling very distracted more than I have from the other readings, which makes sense to me because of the swords. And with the Two of Swords, generally speaking, is about indecision. It's about not knowing if you should take this risk. So I think a lot of you have already thought about moving to the East Coast and specifically to the New York City or surrounding areas, as it relates to work. And when we have in the 7th house and we have the porcupine here and it says free yourself of guilt and shame, I wouldn't be surprised if many of you are queer or if you are any part of a minority group in any way. A lot of you probably just have felt very claustrophobic in your area where you live or you grew up, especially if, oh, first of all, if some of you are wanting to go to school or go back to school, going to back to school in New York City, I think would be a very good idea for you, or like a surrounding area. Again, Boston as well. There's many different colleges in Boston, or just anywhere in those states, obviously, because this is about the states you should move to, not just the cities. But I see that being good as well. Oh my god, I'm being thrown all over the place. But I think a lot of you have already thought about moving to either of these states already with that indecision card. So I think a lot of you have already thought about specifically moving to either New York or Massachusetts. And with the other swords energy, that especially made it obvious that we were going to be on the East Coast for this pile. Because, yeah, the people living here in these states are not known for being friendly. They're known for easily being combative, and people aren't afraid to say what they want to say and think how they think and express those thoughts outwardly. People are not afraid to be rough around the edges, you could say, and I guess you could also say start a fight. But it seems like there's a lot of, I guess, free speech, you could say. A lot of people just not being afraid to, yeah, be combative. I'm just seeing, like, people on the New York City streets fighting with each other, like the classic, New York trope, I'm walking here," that whole vibe, and people, like, pushing and shoving on each other, and the whole I'm seeing now uh, in cartoons where people are fighting, you can't really see them fighting, but you see, like, their legs and arms sticking out from this dust cloud, and it's like, "Ah, ooh, ee," like those onomatopoeia sounds, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." Yeah, funny. Funny that I'm getting that imagery. So, yeah, I'm getting a sense that you'll live in an environment of that, of people not being very people-pleasing, to say the least. It's really interesting, though, how we have the 9 of Cups here in the upright because I for sure knew I wanted to do New York City for this. I could have done LA, but I was getting more cold East Coast vibes, so I'm like, I'll just think about where else on the East Coast, and I thought Massachusetts, especially the Boston area, made the most sense. Also because this feels like it felt like where you could move to would be a state where there is a lot of advancements and also where it's very progressive. Technically, a lot of the East Coast, like Upper East Coast states are like this. But, yeah, so New York City and Boston especially, those 2, along the East Coast are very progressive areas, and I feel like you'll need to be somewhere that's progressive. Where we have Free Yourself of Guilt and Shame, I did talk about how it feels like a lot of you feel suppressed where you are, so a lot of you could grow up in small towns or just in places that don't align with your beliefs, or in which you are not able to fully express yourself. That especially relates if you are queer or if you are, Black or Hispanic, or we know any part of any minority group, even if you're a woman or if you're non-binary. Going to these places, you're a lot more likely to fit in and find people who align best with your beliefs. For some of you too, within the seventh house, a lot of you could move to one of these places for love even, where maybe you just know that in your hometown you don't have much luck with love. Maybe you know everybody, you grew up with everybody, and maybe just people are very different from you and you just don't have any attraction toward any of these people, and same goes for them toward you, I guess. There's a lot more like-minded people for you that are located within the states of New York and Massachusetts, where it feels like you'll feel a lot more connected to people and that you'll more easily be able to find romantic relationships and to form those. Seven of Pentacles indicates to me that, this will be a place that where you decide to live. It won't just be easy living there. I feel like it'll be quite hard, especially at first, to adjust, as well as financially, it will probably be more expensive than your prior circumstances, whether it's because of the actual location of where you lived before, or if it's because, maybe you moved to one of these states out of college or after moving out from your parents' home or not having roommates anymore. I see that being a case too, where a lot of you could move and not even have roommates anymore, or you have less roommates. And so you have to pay more, um, and also you have to, yeah, have more responsibilities like cleaning, doing errands for the house or the home that you have. So I feel like this is a place also just where a lot of people are trying to make it big, which brings me back to what I was going to say with the Knight of Cups before I got distracted. Oh, and also Knight of Swords in reverse indicates to me things being very quick-paced. In New York City, it's known as the city that never sleeps, there's always stuff going on. Also, Boston, there's a lot of advancements going on in that area, just in Massachusetts in general, a lot of, movement, a lot of traffic, a lot of touristy spots as well for visitors. The Seven of Swords, real quick, I'll say, relates to the fact that people say what they wanna say and they don't care about skirting around the topic. They don't care about starting a fight potentially, and that also relates to the King of Swords, where I think a lot of people also feel like they have authority over other people in a way where people feel like they're the one that's always in the right, and that if you have a different opinion, then they're just gonna like either argue with you or just say you're wrong and walk away. Anyway, so that's why how it relates to New York and Massachusetts. Some people in polls, when I was looking this up after pulling the cards, people were saying that people in Massachusetts are actually even worse than the people in New York. It's like I didn't grow up on the East Coast. I've never even visited the East Coast, so I wouldn't know. But I do know about the East Coast having a lot of opinions and people with strong and loud voices. Anyway, what I was gonna say is that finally, the Knight of Cups. This relates to me having said, and this is a big part of the reason why I connected New York to this, but also Massachusetts, is people try to make it big here. Okay, people try to make it big, become famous, become a star, just to become successful, getting a job and living in a place that has been so iconic in American pop culture for a while now. So it feels like also, I feel like the Knight of Cups ties to the historical significance of, like, the founding of the United States, because it was more so known, New England is more the East Coast. Does that include Maine too, New England? You know what? We're gonna look it up. 'Cause I'm just getting New England vibes in general from this stack, so some of you maybe relate to the other New England states. What is New England? Like, which states? Okay, let's see. Yeah, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. It's not even Oh, interesting. It's not even, New York, but it says it's known for its colonial past, Atlantic coastline, changing autumn foliage, and forests and mountains. Boston, Massachusetts, the region's hub, predates the American Revolution, and its Freedom Trail passes sites that were critical to the nation's founding. See, yeah, there's a lot of historical significance. See, I didn't even read all that before. There's a lot of historical significance tied to where you would move to, which I guess makes sense. And if you were to move to either New York, just because of maybe the past 100 years, but also like founding father type stuff, like what was going on with the pilgrims and them when they moved over here, when people began settling. And so, yeah, Boston feels like a very historically significant area as well. So that's also why, but this is with the historical significance I'm getting from the spread, it makes sense. So that also relates to making it big too, because people from, um, especially the UK, but people across Europe mainly, started coming over to the United States. We're not going to get into the whole like debate about, if they should have. You know, there's a lot of awful stuff that happened with the founding fathers, all that coming over here. Hashtag land back. Uh, just so you know where I stand. But anyway, a lot of people came here trying to be independent, be different from the people in England, let's say, and not have to follow the rules of the English government. So people wanted to make their own way and people were trying to make it big. But many people are not able to. Also that meant taking the rights away from other people, right? Um at the time. But there's a sense what I'm trying to say is that there's a sense of historically as well as still in the present day trying to make it big, trying to establish oneself, trying to make a name for yourself. So I think that very strongly connects to Massachusetts as well as to New York, just historically speaking, as well as in the present moment. You always talk about people trying to make it big in New York or in LA and how it can be very difficult, especially because it's so expensive and that not everybody's able to make it big. So that's the environment that you would be in. And so that's why part of the reason I connected these two states to this spread. There's a sense of wanting to make it big. And in terms of if I see you doing it, I feel like Spirit doesn't really want me to say, but we do have the new career card here. So I think a lot of you will move to either Massachusetts or New York for career. I said this in Stack 2 as well, but you could move there for a job you already have that is relocating you there, or you could move there just for a different job that you maybe have that you don't have now, but you would have if you were to move there. There's a degree of risk, I guess, in this, but it doesn't really feel like it. Like, I feel like there's, whenever people move, there's always a degree of risk. Like, if you're able to get along with the people and if you're able to um, find a nice home, like find friends, find a romantic partner. But for you, I don't feel like the risk outweighs the reward. I feel like there's a lot of reward here. Even though we have where it says predator survival tyrannical, I feel like you'll have to work very hard. Seven of Pentacles energy. You'll have to work very hard and put a lot of money into savings is what I'm hearing Spirit say as well. Make sure you put your money into savings and don't spend frivolously. You'll have to be a lot more minimalistic from moving to other of these states. But I'm getting a sense that you'll feel so free. You'll be able to make strong connections with friends as well as people in a business setting. For those of you who that relates to, like if you're networking for business, I see that being very important too. And with that handshake, it's like the business dealings, I'm getting a sense of that for some of you, like making legal, finalized agreements. So that would be very cool. But yeah, I just get a sense that moving to either of these places, you'll feel a lot more yourself. For some of you too, with the porcupine energy, there's a sense that maybe you've always felt drawn to these areas. And once you move there, you'll feel even more so like it was the right decision because some of you, I think, have had past lives in the East Coast areas around New York or Massachusetts. So, and a lot of people are also drawn to Massachusetts. If you think of Salem, Massachusetts, that's where the witch trials happened. So, the witches of the world, and if you're listening to this, you could be very witchy yourself, obviously. Moving to a place like Massachusetts, you'd probably feel a lot more connected to nature. That isn't going to be the case if you really move to New York as much, but if you move to Massachusetts, I think you'll feel a lot more connected to the nature. For if you're trying to figure out like between either of the states which one you would feel more drawn to moving to, think about if being out in nature is a big deal for a lot of you, because in Massachusetts I feel like there is a strong connection to that, and also just a strong connection to, like, ancestry. I think a lot of you are very intuitive and very in tune with, like, spirits and energy, so I think you'll be able to pick up on the energy of these places as well. Um, I'm getting a sense that, not in a bad way, but some of you could end up being haunted from one of the places you move into. Just, like, getting direct and indirect communication from the other side. So if that's something that scares you, then maybe definitely try to be in a more new area of town that it doesn't have an old building, I guess. Like, even that though, I mean, there's so many people that have ever lived in these places, so you're bound to have some potentially happen. So if you want to get rid of those things, just hire a psychic medium or somebody who can cleanse your home, or you can cleanse your home and just tell the spirits to go. Um, so I can't give you a finalized answer of how long you'll live in one of these places, for a lot, well, I think it could be not forever. Like, I see you retiring elsewhere, like in a different state, but I see you working and working hard in these states, and you enjoying your time for however long you are occupying space in these states, in either one. And, I'm hearing, like, a lot of new experiences that you'll want to have here, you've never been able to have before. And just connecting with like-minded individuals is a really key thing. But I wanna say in terms of, like, if you'll, quote, unquote, "make it big," I don't think there's a big emphasis on that. Like, Spirit is still saying you could move there for a career, or that you'll be able to have a career moving to either of these places that you could have for quite a while. Or, like, a line of, even if you switch jobs a lot, like, if it's a similar line or genre of career, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see you being able to do that. So as long as you work hard and do the type of career you want to do, I see you being successful. But in terms of, quote unquote, making it big, like if you want any fame or like major fortune, Spirit doesn't really want to relay any of that. They just want you to focus on the connections you'll make. There's a big key component of that, of finding people who you really get along with and who make you feel safe, and people who I see you having a lot of fun. No matter how old you are, you'll feel very youthful and adventurous within either of these states that you choose to go to. Also, in terms of, like, specifics of the environment you live in, like, for the first stack, I said suburb type vibes. Second stack, I said rural. For you all, I really do get the sense it's very much city vibes. If it's not directly downtown, for some of you, it could be directly downtown, but I'm actually getting more so a sense of you still being, like, in the, quote, unquote, "in the city," like, in a big part of the city. So definitely not in the suburbs or in a rural area, but maybe not directly downtown. For some of you, maybe still downtown area, but I see you being somewhere that's like in the city, very like populous part of the city, very hustle and bustle, like loud part of the city, very like there's a lot going on, but maybe not directly in the quote unquote downtown part of that city, if that makes sense. I see you having, like, a lot of neighbors, probably living more so in either an apartment or a house where there's a lot of roommates. That's something to keep in mind. But for some of you, if you're moving, especially more so to Boston, I can see you living, like, in a very small, like, or even in New York City still. I could see you, if you're living alone, being in a very, very small apartment and maybe not even having a car or barely using your car because you use public transportation a lot. Okay, let's go into the guidebooks. And what is talked about in the guidebooks could relate to you and your mindset, or it could relate to the actual place that you could move to, and that place being either New York or Massachusetts. So 17 reptilians. The reptilian beings are a very close genotype to their alpha draconian allies and have close ties with them. They also typically are known to be oh my god, malevolent, cruel. I kept wanting to say malevolent, cruel, volatile, and intimidating. They have been associated with many abduction reports. They originate from Alpha Draconis system in Orion constellation. Their convoluted Earth history is similar to Alpha Draconians in that it seems to stem back to ancient civilizations, with crossbreeding anomalies with the off-planet Anunnaki of Sumer and widespread planetary Nephilim beings. A typical reptilian stands 8 to 6 to 8 feet tall, with thick lizard-like skin ranging in green to brown tones. They have a lizard-like head and eyes and have some shape-shifting abilities. Oh my god, wait, page 55. That was, for stack 2, they had a page 55 for the butterfly deck, where yours is new career. So Reptilian's 55. A lot of change is happening. This will enact a lot of change in your life, this move. Beautiful. The Reptilians work under their Alpha Draconian overlord's rules and are militant and relentless predators. They largely stay in underground subterranean environments and are associated with the MILABs. I don't know what that is. Man in something, I don't know. A U.S. geologist whistleblower exposed the truth of the underground reptilian ETs and how they shot his finger off with the laser. Card meaning. This is an upright. So we have tyrannical, cruel, fight, flight, reptilian brain, interrogation, predator, survival, bully, territorial, pecking order, militant, viewing everything as a competition. So yeah, I just think, especially that last part, the viewing everything as a competition, relates to everybody trying to pave their way on the East Coast, especially if it's NYC, trying to make it big or just trying to survive so you don't have to like move back home or whatever. Like people trying to work hard, maybe having to take extra shifts and everything. Yeah. And also just the environment being that of people being combative, not being afraid to fight, not being afraid to curse, not being afraid to state their mind. Yeah, so I'm not surprised by what that was saying. Now let's go to the other guidebook. Let's go to Porcupine. And it says, oh, where'd it go? Okay, Porcupine, innocence. Free yourself of guilt and shame. See the world through the eyes of a child, trusting your inner mother and father to be there wherever you need them or whenever you need them. Protection is available when you need it, so you can feel safe in expressing yourself in all the different ways you've always wanted to. There's boldness and innocence, and no more need to hide behind any childhood guilt about perceived misdeeds or be consumed with shame about revealing your true self. You're a gentle soul and have never intentionally harmed anyone. That's the thing, too. I feel like a lot of you are more of that gentle nature, so that's why it might be jarring being in these types of environments, but I see you being able to find people who you get along with well. Release any guilt over your behavior or shame about yourself in this situation. There's no need to feel resentful, victimized, or arrogant toward anyone else either. Be the child of God that you are. In your heart, live in the garden. Others may cause you to prickle, but truly most of what they do or say to you is harmless and not a threat. So be joyful and grateful, and let everything you do be done with complete abandon. Dance, laugh, sing, and be free again, just like you were on the day you were born. Additional associations. Humility, protection, sensitivity, trust. Yeah, trust. Everything will be good. I see this being a very, like, happy, uplifting time for you, honestly. Like, a lot of newness, a lot of just happiness for stepping outside of your comfort zone or doing something new. And then we have new career. This card signals a happy change in your work life, even if that change doesn't seem to be under your control. Rest assured that your career track is heading in the right direction and you are learning much needed skills and lessons along the way. The more you can stay focused on your highest visions, the smoother and faster you'll travel along your career path. However, do stay flexible as exciting new doors may open for you unexpectedly. This is a good time for you to make an employment change, provided that you've done planning and self-assessment first. Instead of impulsively switching jobs, you're guided to research, prepare, and then take action. Additional meanings. Exciting part-time work, starting your own business, meeting with a career counselor, increased sales, launching new products, trusting your business ideas, a new business partner, funding for a business venture, and taking classes towards your new career. Also, this is on page 66, this last page. 66 is all about releasing and healing, so a lot of you need to release old parts of yourself and embrace these new aspects of yourself, or embrace the aspects of yourself that you haven't been able to fully express in your current environment, especially if you have grown up or currently live in a place that's very conservative or closed-minded. I will leave it at that, though. Thank you so much, 3C, for watching and listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can like the video down below. You can comment down below if you resonate with this stack, and you can update your comment again in the future if there are any updates you would like to provide for us all, such as if you moved. And you can subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. You can check out the other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my channel. And you can check out my ASMR channel, Brittney's ASMR. That will be linked in the video description down below. Thank you so much again, 3C, and take care.